what I see happening here in the United States, in particular with this election, and you said that you would support Biden if you were an American citizen. I said I supported Trump. What's happening that I can see, and it's a very clear, I think, microcosm of what we've been talking about. Say, for example, the media has already called the election for Biden. And essentially, that political group believes that Biden is president-elect. Yet we have a number of voting inconsistencies, primarily because there was a lot of voting by mail, which has been shown to be fraught with fraud, and there's going to be a number of legal challenges to the vote on the basis of there was either dead people counted, or there were votes from people that don't exist or don't actually live in the state. Whatever the issue is, there is a disagreement on the vote. So how do we reconcile in the United States the fact that we're going to have a group that believes that they won the election, and then we may go through a legal process that says, no, in reality, somebody else won the election? Here we're fighting a narrative. Here we're basically going along with the rule of law. How do you think Americans can come together and reconcile this idea? Because what I see going on right now is the media has completely basically gone over to one side in the United States. And I don't know what the UK media is like, but when you talk about a plurality of ideas, there is not a plurality of ideas in the American media sphere today. It is one-sided completely. Now, a lot of that has to do with, I think, animosity for the president. But how do we reconcile that as a nation where you may have a legal process that goes through and determines somebody else is president, but you have this process of the narrative that is creating this alternative view? How do we reconcile that? Because I think what you have brought in Cynical Theories is clarity to the problem, but this is becoming acute in our own society right now, like in this election.
So there's going to be an objective truth with the election. If fraud has taken place, then obviously a rigorous investigation needs to take place. In the worst case scenario, a new and more secure voting sort of system has to happen. There's an objective truth here. This isn't a matter of narratives. I'm somewhat skeptical that the entire media is going one side, because I think the last time I looked, the most popular news outlet is still Fox.
Oh, but you don't know what happened recently. So Fox was the first to call Arizona. So all of its viewers are absolutely up in arms because they believe, and there's been this slow progression of Fox News basically moving more towards the rest of the MSNBC, CNN, all of the others, and it's really broken just in the since Fox News was the first to call Arizona before all the ballots had been counted. There's a lot of anger and disappointment in that. So yes, I would agree that Fox News was, but just in this election alone, there's been a complete shift. People are abandoning the channel. In fact, recently CNN and MSNBC had more viewers than Fox News, which was completely upside down. So that's happening like literally right now, which is why I say it's so acute.
I certainly think there is that dominant narrative problem going on. I think there are other narratives in the US as well, though. I hear a lot from conservatives who have their own very strong narrative, which isn't always all that healthy or based on evidence and reason either. So I still believe that the way forward is for those of us on the left or the right to focus on liberalism, to try and address the problem on our own side. Now, this is why I have stayed on the left, and that's because I think I have to fight that problem within the left from the left. And I appreciate and respect ethical conservatives who see the problem on the right. So I am in favour of quite a lot of the never Trumpers who saw him as what I think has been accurately described as a postmodern president. He's a very similar kind of problem epistemologically when it comes to how to knowledge and narratives that we're seeing on the postmodern left. My hope, and I might be idealistic here, is that liberal and evidence-based leftists can push out the social justice, and liberal and evidence-based rightists can push out the populists, and the grown-ups can talk, and we can have two parties again who aren't based on extreme narratives and trying to win a war of them. Now, if you're asking me how to achieve that and how to achieve it in America, I'm not going to be I'm not going to be a miracle worker here. I have some plans for the UK. I think we are not quite where you are. I think we can pull back. I'm quite scared for America at the moment. I'm afraid that what is happening is a genuine attempt at a cultural revolution. And my fear is that it could, in its worst case, lead to something that's almost like a civil war. So I don't know how you can avoid that. I do think that you need ethical leftists in there to really hold Biden to his promise to be the president for all Americans and to try and push that social justice out of the left.